Are you more often sad than happy in your marriage? Are you tired of the conflict, stress, and the heartache? Have you exhausted the catchphrase, marriage is supposed to make you holy, not happy? Do you want to get off the rewarded cycle because you've discovered that after spinning your wheels for years inside of that cliche, you feel more unloved and lonely than ever? Have you emotionally flatlined and you're ready to give up, in spite of counseling and having read all the books on being the most excellent wife that you can be? After all these years, you understand what marriage is supposed to look like, yet there's just more isolation and disconnection. If that sounds like your marriage, you've come to the right spot. Hi there, my name is Lillian, and here I talk about God and the femininity that He created you with, and how that femininity can heal you, give you back your life, and possibly the marriage you've always hoped for. There's a caveat though. As you grow and your femininity shines brighter and you get stronger in the Lord, a true believing brother will love who you're becoming. But a wolf in sheep's clothing will hate your new sense of self. As God regenerates your heart to be the daughter that He always meant for you to be, the wolf will make your marriage worse. I know you've all heard this idea that a relationship can be viewed as a love bank account. Well, that's not where I'm going with this because it's a disingenuous view. I want to pivot from that theory into biological truth, a different kind of view, an idea that separates our femininity and masculinity by a cleaner truth instead of muddying the water with the invented term of mutual submission, which just has ended up equalizing femininity so far into oblivion that it doesn't exist anymore. I want to develop this idea about a bank account and money through checks and deposits because God uses the example of money for love and relationships with Him. It's the word aphilo. In John 13:14, Jesus says, "If I, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet." Aphilo is a financial word. It's like a mortgage payment that you owe. And with every payment you make, it accrues to your equity. God bought you the house when He redeemed you. It's you. And to move into that house was free for you, sort of. You owe Him payments from your heart. You're indebted to God. And the payments you owe Him are the treasures you accrue in heaven. So I'm going to extrapolate from that. A man makes deposits in his emotional bank by serving. Men do good, then feel good. The good feeling he experiences is the deposit he receives. The treasure he's accruing is the relationship. For a man, it's straightforward and linear. He does good because he's 90% testosterone, and then the feeling follows from the 10% estrogen. But for us, it's not just different, it's opposite. Because God created us with the opposite hormonal ratio, 90% estrogen and 10% testosterone. Women feel the good feelings, then those good feelings, produce the good we do. A woman builds her own bank account by self-care deposits. Then she does good by serving her family. It's imperative for you to understand this. It's Feminine Healing 101. A man doesn't owe you deposits. You owe yourself those deposits. Then you've got a lot of cash built up to withdraw from. Those checks that you write against the cash reserves are what you use to serve others. One coin, two sides. A woman deposits on the feminine side and withdraws on the serving side. But this is important. The checks you write are for serving the family. That's it. It's got nothing to do with the one flesh relationship. God made you the keeper of the home. Your responsibility is to make the house into a home. You do not write checks for the one flesh relationship. That has been assigned to the masculine. A man has to make his own deposits into you. You cannot let him extract from your deposits. They're for your family, in keeping with the financial metaphor. Now, if a man wants to put his wife's own self-care on steroids, he must deposit more into her than she deposits into herself. If he does, she'll multiply, increase, and expand whatever he deposits inside her heart. It depends on him, because the one flesh relationship is his responsibility. It's the health and maturity of a man's masculinity that determines his own rate for the accrual of the relationship. When Paul says, husbands, love your wives as your own body, this is what he means. In a female's biology, she will not desire a man's company or any other part of the man himself if her estrogen is not increasing the whole time she's in his presence. She must feel the accrual happening first. God intentionally used a financial term to help us understand love and relationships, versus the military word hupotasso, which he uses to help us understand the hierarchical structure and functional roles in marriage. For most of my marriage, I had been living a lie, trying to feel feminine through the role of a wife as I functioned like a man. That's fake femininity. Another name for this is called biblical womanhood. These women are striving like boss babes. They're grinding it out all day. If you've got 4 or 5 kids under the age of 6 or 7 and you're home with them all day, you are grinding. You're just not doing it in a boardroom. We're told that because we wear dresses, no makeup, and have long hair and don't fuss over pretty things and stay home, that is femininity. I let Dean write check after check against my non-existent femininity. Because there was no reserves in my cash account, those checks got cashed against my soul. In that broken, defenseless state with no deposits into my femininity, I was always trying to do better, be better. What I ended up doing is being more and more masculine. When your femininity is unhealed, functional masculinity is the only state you can embody, because you've been led to believe that that's all there is. Eventually you break. I guess a better way to understand it is that you can't go on anymore because you're broke. Your feminine bank account is completely overdrawn, and you're so far down in the hole that you can't even look up to see a glimmer of hope. I had been living out of only one side of that coin. I did not know, like I'm suspecting you don't know, that there even is another side to the coin. You cannot know what you don't know until you know it. And that's when God moves in, right? When you are in your lowest point and your most broken space, when you are completely stymied, nothing left in that cash account, but you're still expected to perform by writing checks on money you know isn't there. Only then can you really pay attention to what God wants you to learn. I want you to take a breath before I say this next paragraph. You ready? What he wanted me to see was my part in the toxic marriage, but not in the way you might think. I never felt condemned or blamed or stupid for not knowing. It was about responsibility. And the thing of it is that if no one taught you about your feminine heart, you have no way of knowing. And that means you can't be responsible for who God created you to truly be. If you don't see and acknowledge how the wrong living came out of your unhealed and wounded spot, you can't take responsibility for learning the right way. The more God healed my heart, the more feminine I became, the stronger and more me I was. No one is going to balance the two sides of that coin for you. You must do it yourself. It's the effect from your healing that makes you more feminine, and The more feminine you become, the more capable you are for that balancing that exists between feminine self-care and serving others. God says that we are responsible to love others as we love ourselves. You will only be able to love others with the resources you've deposited into yourself. You can't give of yourself what you don't possess. And if you're broken or unhealed, that's the measure which you're going to give or serve your family. You see, the way a man takes responsibility for his masculinity isn't how a woman takes responsibility for her femininity. Learning to take care of that inner girl the way God designed her is how your femininity becomes more balanced. And as a result, you have more power to serve. But there's something else. That power of the authentically embodied feminine woman is going to draw a masculine man to step it up. Or it's what will drive away a toxic man. If you're stuck in the masculine headspace, it's because you're unhealed from childhood and your body can't relax, because for some reason, she still feels unsafe and unprotected. And that's ultimately what drives you to want to fix the marriage. It's not what God wants. It's what you want. Your true feminine self will never emerge, and you'll end up in fake femininity. And that's when you do womanhood by starting on the outside in hopes the inside will feel feminine. Do you see the masculine pattern? Doing good to feel good. Remember, that's how testosterone is wired to work. You think it's more about external. You see yourself as a woman, but your view is too shallow because it's in the wrong order. You're looking through a masculine lens. Women feel good first, then we do good. Acting like a woman, dressing like a woman, will never make you feel more feminine. God doesn't want his daughters depending on any sources outside of themselves for validation. That's backwards for femininity. When we're locked in a masculine mindset, we completely miss the truth found in 1 Peter 3. Don't depend on things like fancy hairstyles or gold jewelry or expensive clothes to make you look beautiful. Be beautiful in your heart by being gentle and quiet. This kind of beauty will last, and God considers it very special. God's talking about our core person, the one he created us to be. One of the ways I learned this truth was through music. God uses music a lot with me. I wonder if he uses it with you. I'm not sure exactly how he does it, and I guess I don't really need to understand everything to believe what I experience with him. There's a couple of songs that whenever I hear them, they drive me back to 1 Peter 3. And then there's like this sparkler that goes off inside me, and I feel this warmth and gratitude that it makes me almost want to cry in appreciation for finally understanding what it means to be a feminine creature, a girl who's beautiful to God. They're secular songs, and I know that might shock some, but I don't think it matters what God uses to show truth. And these songs bring to life how I feel in God's eyes, not how I felt when I was married to Dean. Ugly, small, dim, and colorless. Not special for pretty much most of 32 years. These songs helped me have a voice for the emotional experience of healed femininity. Sometimes words alone don't capture the complete feelings we experience because they're so deep. Words set to music make that bridge for me. Femininity is colorful and playful and fun and joyful and full of potential and possibilities. We're a beautiful, complex blend of soft sensuality that's equally as strong. The first one is a song by Shania Twain, I Feel Like a Woman. She ties the inside to the outside. Feeling is on the inside, looking like a woman's on the outside. Feeling like The feminine creature that lives inside the body of a woman isn't about experiencing her on the outside. It shows up on the outside, but that's not where we feel like females. This contrast is captured beautifully in a scene from The Big Bang Theory when Penny is in the kitchen making French toast for breakfast. She isn't dressed up to go out. She's not going to the salon to have a pedicure or a manicure or get her hair done. She doesn't even have her hair done. We can be all those things, but that's not what the lyrics are driving at. Penny's in the kitchen, not on a stage, but in a kitchen, cooking in her pajamas, and the girly fun, femininity, is bursting out of her. And then there's a song by Brice called Soul. He loves her womanly body, obviously, but there's something else too. Every one of the lyrics are a beautiful contrast of a whole woman, all of her, not just the outer shell of reproductive organs. When he says you've got a heart made of gold, you don't need to be undressing to feel like you're impressing. He's talking about what's inside of her, her femininity. He's talking about being in relationship with her. Both of these songs, I've put links in the description box if you want to listen to them. Both of them have the same contrasting theme. The outer shell, the part that's on the surface, and the inner world where the real female lives. None of the lyrics in these songs talk about their degree of knowledge, careers, or jobs that they do. Nope. They're talking about everything on the other side of that coin, all femininity. When you love being a female creature, it lights you up. Being female feels special, and you take care of her and nurture her, unapologetically accepting how God created you as a feminine creature, the thing that makes you so different from the masculine creature. When you embody her, even celebrate her, this is what pleases God. But you can't do that until you heal her. God used songs like this as part of rescuing, feeding, and guarding me, himself, because the leaders of Christendom didn't. Instead of being rescued, guided, and guarded, I was systematically taught to neglect this part of myself, and they call it service to God. They kill femininity by ignoring it, and condition women to shut down their own emotions and feelings through shame and legalism, as though the feelings and emotions are wicked and untrustworthy. That's what kept me in bondage to a wolf for so long. So God himself showed me the strength I possess within my femininity. And what emerged was a clearer understanding of what it means to celebrate being fearfully and wonderfully made as a female creature.